Order, order. Welcome, world. I'm back. And tonight we have Rocky Lotito, who's going to debate with me a little bit, and we're going to debate with him about what he's doing to our brothers and some sisters at Rikers Island. He teaches how to debate. So I want to bring him on the show, and I'll be honored to debate with him this evening. Isn't that great? See what I do for you people? All right. Rocky, how are you?
I am great. So happy to be here, James.
Yeah, that voice, isn't that real deep voice and everything like that?
You got to have a good debate voice.
That's what it is. So I usually just yell when I want to make a point.
That's one of the things that we try to teach our incarcerated people not to do.
Oh, figures. Look at me getting it all wrong from the beginning. All right. So how would you like to explain a little bit about how you go about doing this?
Sure. So I was a debater in college. Went to Boston University, was the president of the debate team there. Then after college, I was the coach of the Columbia debate team for a number of years. And after I stopped doing that, I wanted to find some way to stay in the debate world. But I didn't necessarily want to stay on the same college debate circuit that I had been participating on. I wanted to make a difference somewhere.
Okay.
And so there was a consulting firm brought into Rikers to try and decrease the amount of violence that was happening there. And one of the things that they advised was, we need more programming. We need to give the men and women in there something to do during the day. We need to help them improve themselves, give them a better shot when they actually get out. So one of the things that they put together was this debate program. So we go in every week. We run 2 classes on Saturday, 1 on Friday, and 1 on Tuesday. Rikers has 10 facilities. We're in 3 of them right now. We're also, we have a class with the Fortune Society. That's our reentry class. And we're always expanding. So we've targeted LA, DC, Boston, Chicago, all at different stages of expansion. LA was actually going to be a federal facility, and the Trump administration shut that down because they don't want to start any new programs within prisons right now. But we've been very fortunate to work with the Rikers administration, and obviously it's a government agency, so there's a lot of bureaucracy to get through, and because we're working in a jail, there's a lot of security stuff we need to do. But once we're actually inside, and they've been a big help to us in getting everything set up, we go to work, and we're there rain or shine, whether it's a holiday. We're there every single week because these men and women don't get holidays. They're in there every day. So we go, and we typically talk about an issue of the day. So we might bring up something like the transgender bathroom issue or Trump's immigration ban. We debated that when that was a hot topic. And so our lessons are kind of twofold. One is that we'll teach about something that's going on in the world, and we'll have a good discussion about it, and we'll let the facts flow out there, and everybody in the room, including us, become a lot more informed about the topic. And then also we teach actual debate and public speaking skills. So how do you make a speech? How do you talk without stuttering and using filler words? And most importantly, how do you see the other side of the argument and actually engage with somebody when having that argument rather than just kind of yelling back and forth? A lot of these people, they need the skill of being able to use their words instead of their fists.
I would think so. I say like this. I like to debate. I like to talk, and with me, it's like I look for, like, say, attack points. Like boom, like I sit back and listen, and then I say, oh, that's a point right there.
Oh yeah.
So when you come back, something to come back on. That's what I like to do, and I learned it from. When I was in, what you would say, treatment program, Phoenix House treatment program, and we'd have to do the round table, and that's how I learned. But I noticed that a lot of the counselors, they use their power for evil. You know what I'm saying? they weren't doing anything constructive with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said I could do it better. And that's how then I became a KSAC counselor. And then I started doing it. Then I learned I have a way of talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a way of bringing like clinical information down to the layman.
Yeah.
And I keep it simple. I talk to them in a language they understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't speak to people how they understand, what good are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Know?
And that's an important skill.
Yes.
I've heard it said, and it's really true, you don't understand something until you can explain it to someone like a 5-year-old.
There you go. And I find that very easy. You know, you got to lose your airs and because I can talk to kids. I have fun with kids, stuff like that. Some people, they lose that ability.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I wonder, how can you do that? You should be able to go both ways, always.
Yeah.
But not everyone can.
You got to keep that childlike sense of wonder and that imagination.
Yeah, it's so, like talking to kids is so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But anyway, back to the business at hand. Order. Yeah. Someone should always be the bigger person.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get all this caca that keeps us from doing that.
Exactly. And that's why people like me have to go in and try and make the world a better place.
There's always somebody. It's a dirty job, but somebody has to do it.
Exactly.
Especially in this time and era.
Yes, exactly. With so many forces fighting back against us, it's doubly important that we go out and try to better our communities and better our society in as many ways as we can.
Speaking on that, because now is the time. I've seen through the Trump era is that we've come more together on many different issues, many different people, and we're starting to stand together. You know what I'm saying?
I think that all at once people are getting closer together and also farther apart. When you look at the two sides of the political spectrum.
No, they're getting further apart if they're on like a negative mindset, a negative, evil mindset.
But unfortunately, that's what a lot of Trump supporters are. They have that negative mindset. There's a lot of fear there.
And he motivated them.
Yeah, brought them out of the woodwork, that's for sure.
So I think what needs to be done is we got to push them back under that rock and then put some more rocks on top of it.
Yeah.
Make sure they go deep down.
Yeah. Used to be a time in this country when racists wore hoods. Now we see
Don't tell
pictures
them
of
what
them.
they have on.
I know. You see what happened in Charlottesville, and that's only the most publicized thing that's happened. There's of course more racial violence going on all over the country because of Trump and what he's inspired in some people. But like you said, people on the side of right have kind of come and stood together. And,
yes, and we are starting to do that even more. Everyone, you know what I'm saying? It's not, because I feel like what happens a lot of times, people, they stand in their little worlds and their little bubbles and they just say, oh, that's not, but see now it's more consolidation.
Oh, yeah. I feel like even during the George W. Bush era, there was a lot of outrage, but also a lot of apathy toward what was going on. And I think you see a lot differently now in the Trump era, and I think a lot of it is because of Trump's personality, because he inspires so much, hatred from the other side, for better or worse. But it's really riled people up, and people like you and me, we're not only going to the voting booths, but we're doing our part to make our communities a better place. Obviously you're decorated with all these pins of all these causes. You're doing this show. I'm trying to help out in any way that I can. So it has inspired people, and hopefully we come out of it better.
That's what you need to do. That's what we need to do. I have to, having a show, I think is my way to inform, educate, and motivate people to what needs to be done, because you can't just sit back and, wait for someone else to do it. You know,
Yeah.
you got to make it happen.
Exactly.
Okay, the word on the street is, Rocco, that you have a wealth of information, so I'm going to let you speak.
Well, I mean, what do you want to talk about? We got all night.
It's your floor. Go for it.
Well, one thing I will say is the reason why I've chosen to work with incarcerated populations is because it's such an invisible population. So not only am I doing the Rikers Debate Project, but I'm actually in grad school right now, earning a master's in social work, which I plan to put to use continuing to work with prison populations. Okay. And the reason for that is because there's so little political will toward helping those populations. When you can get a politician talking about it, which you almost never can, it's all nonviolent this, non-sexual that. And obviously we want to limit the amount of time people are spending in prison, for minor drug offenses and things like that. But our entire paradigm of punishment in this country is flawed. Yeah. We have a real lock them up and throw away the key mentality. And what people don't understand is nobody's as bad as they are on their worst day. Certainly people who commit crimes deserve to be punished. I'm not saying that they don't. But many of the sentences that we impose are very, very lengthy. And one of the populations that I work with specifically is older people in prison, people over the age of 50, at which point you've basically aged out of crime. So the odds of you reoffending after the age of 50, and especially after the age of 60, are so low that there are organizations out there such as RAP, who I work with, Release Aging People from Prison, who are lobbying now for laws to get presumptive release for people after they hit a certain age and a certain number of years in prison, which I'm all for. Because I think we do need to focus on rehabilitative efforts, giving people a second chance, making people productive members of society again. Because the system of mass incarceration that we have now, aside from being racist and discriminatory, is very expensive. And that's money that we could be putting toward other things. We've got 42 million Americans right now who live in food insecure households. That's more than the population of Poland. And we've got a third world country right here within our own borders, and instead we're paying to lock people up for doing drugs. So we've got our priorities a little screwed up here, so that's why I've tried to focus my efforts on that population.
One of my things in going back to prison to help people free their minds was because that's the largest base for especially black males.
Oh yeah.
And I would want to once you get them out and you assist them to free their minds and get them politically motivated and orientated, and then become a force.
Oh
you
yeah.
know what I'm saying? That was part of my dream also.
Absolutely. Prison can be a transformative experience for a lot of people.
It was for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why we've recently changed our formulations for giving people parole. Now our parole commissioners are supposed to look a lot more at your risk of reoffending, some of those factors, instead of looking at your original crime, because we do want to get people out of prison.
That never changes, though.
Exactly.
It never changes.
Exactly. You can't change what you've done, but you can change what you're doing to make up for it, what you're doing to take responsibility.
The time you spent in there, what you were doing then.
Exactly. Yeah, people get degrees, they get masters while they're in there, they start organizations. Organizations that I'm involved with communicate with people on the inside to try and organize, and people really can make a difference from the inside.
Do you believe this? When I went to college, they had offenders in there going to school and getting degrees and stuff like that. But then when I went to prison, they cut it out. Will you believe that?
Oh, I can believe it, because they've been cutting services in prisons for years.
The story of my life.
Oh,
when I needed, they cut it out. Before I needed, it was all there.
I can only imagine. Actually, I think I may have mentioned L.A. was one of the cities that we were planning on expanding to with Rikers Debate in a federal prison, but the Trump administration cracked down and said no more new programs in these federal facilities because their main goal is security. We want them to focus on security. And so that's what a lot of these prisons are focusing on now. They're cutting programming, same as in our schools, and they're just focusing on warehousing people.
What I call that, power and control. Power and control. They don't want to, just the bare minimums.
Exactly, exactly. And prison has become a place now where, unfortunately, we put a lot of our undesirables in society. We put a lot of people from poor neighborhoods. We put an awful lot of black men in prison, and at a disproportionately high rate. And so, it's no secret that the whole system is in desperate need of upheaval.
What brings me is like, don't they're gonna come out. What about when they come out? If you have them under the power control kind of thing, and like do as you're told, and beat them down and all like that, how are they coming back to you?
I agree. I think that that's why we need rehabilitative efforts to make sure that if you're in prison for 10, 15, 20 years and you come out, you're going to be able to get a job, you're going to be able to contribute to society, reconnect with your family, be a good citizen. That's what we want from people when they get out of prison. Instead, prison hardens people.
Yeah.
Some people are able to make it through and come out better on the other side, clearly, but not all people. And that's why there's still a risk of recidivism, very high risk for certain populations of people. And we still, as a society, are warehousing our, like I said, undesirables. Right now, if you're a black male and you drop out of high school, there's a 66% chance that you're going to go to prison at some point in your life, a 2 out of 3 chance.
Do you know that I found out that the core exams are started in kindergarten?
Meaning what? They start preparing for those exams?
No, they start testing you with the core exams
Really?
in kindergarten.
Oh, that wasn't the
And
case when I was in school.
And the core exams are what they use to decide how many prisons they need to build. So when I found out, it amazed me. It started in
Interesting. Well, and the sad fact is that in the age of private prisons, it's almost more about, let's build a prison and then let's find people to fill it up with, rather than the other way around.
Yeah. And so they figure by how well you do on these core exams, how long you're going to stay in school and want to be, and they see you going a different way, and they say, okay, we got a place for you.
Yeah, they use it as a predictor, and they predict your life and they condemn you to a certain path before you've even gone down.
That's a shame.
Absolutely.
That is a shame. They're telling you where you're going to go and where you're going to be. And some of us are so foolish, we make them right.
Yeah, that's the school to prison pipeline that you hear about. But, we're doing what we can to change things. One step at a time. Mass incarceration is just another era that's going to end someday.
But I believe something that I always believed when I first started this. What a lot of groups and everything is doing on the outside, that's good. But you got to start with the persons themselves. Because if you don't get them to free their minds, to stop wanting to go to prison, stop wanting to do crime, start feeling more for themselves, they're having more feelings than a want to do time. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And everything else is going to be a failure, because all the systematic things that are set up for you to go that way, with the core tests starting kindergarten and stuff like that, you're going to basically do it.
Well, what you got to do is burst that pipeline. And you got to show people in these neighborhoods that you don't have to grow up to be a prisoner. That's not your lot in life. You can succeed in those areas. And like I said, the money that we would save by ending mass incarceration can go to rejuvenating those areas, to getting people proper educations, to getting them homes and food where sometimes they don't have those things, especially children growing up. We can start to help the problem by helping society in that way.
We're going to change it all one person at a time. Let's debate about your president.
My president?
Your president.
Oh, man.
My president was the real president. He went out the back way and got in a helicopter. That's the real president.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I woke up the next day. What the?
I remember going to sleep that night as on CNN they were saying, if everything holds, it looks like our next president's going to be Donald Trump. And I couldn't believe it, and I still can't
missed
a
that.
year later.
I think that's what made me go to sleep and tell me I was dreaming. No. Okay. Do you feel that with all this, like, sexual abuse coming up now and everything like that, do you think he was the facilitator of this?
Well, obviously you've got the Harvey Weinstein effect, right? As soon as the allegations against Harvey Weinstein came out, that's when the floodgates opened. So I think the allegations against Trump came maybe a year and a half too early to do maximum damage, because right now careers are being destroyed, and rightly so. For people who are serial sexual abusers. But Trump himself admitted that he's a serial sexual abuser.
Yeah, they made him president.
They made him president after he was caught on video
that.
talking about this. So, and these are evangelical Christians. These are people who claim that they care about character. Now, don't get me wrong. I wasn't a huge Hillary Clinton fan either, and I think she had major character issues. But comparing her with Donald Trump is like comparing apples and a very, very lewd apple. There's no comparison.
I don't understand it. But now these people are losing it. And then, what's this one that was the senator?
Al Franken?
Yeah. This happened when he wasn't even a senator.
Well, there's been a couple allegations against him now. So the first was that he forced a tongue kiss on somebody, which is pretty bad.
That was the same woman he was supposed to have.
That was that woman, and then the other one was he groped somebody's rear end
when he was taking a picture.
When he was taking a picture. Now, I think you'll find different opinions as to how serious those two things are. You find even more opinions as to whether or not he should resign. I am of the opinion that he probably shouldn't resign. I don't think that a resignation is necessary. I think maybe he shouldn't be voted in next term after we've seen what kind of a person he is, but I don't think he's done anything that prevents him from doing his job.
This happened before he was a senator, though.
Well, it's still a character issue, though, especially if you're going to be...
Well, maybe he changed.
Maybe, but Donald Trump, his sexual abuses came before he was president also, and I think that that's something that we should have taken into account when choosing our president, and I think you can take that into account when choosing a senator.
I think the thing with Donald was that's a mindset. You see what I'm saying? That showed a mindset of how he thinks, so that's not changing. And then I remember in another thing he said, that's just, no, I think towards his thing, he said that was just locker room talk. Yeah. So that's okay when you're with the guys and stuff like that. So that's a mindset thing.
There's a lot of false equivalencies coming from the Republican side because you see what's going on with Roy Moore. I mean, the guy's an accused child molester. There's no comparison. And then you see what happens with Al Franken. He says he doesn't even remember doing anything wrong. I'm sort of inclined to believe him.
Well, if you got the picture there, the picture, he can't.
Don't get me wrong. The picture is damning. I think that first allegation is what really sunk him. The one about, I'm taking a picture and I touch somebody's rear end for a couple seconds, that to me sounds like something that I could accidentally do. You put your arm around somebody, you accidentally, cup their rear end. And it's not like there's a flood of allegations coming out against him. But that first allegation, from before he was a senator, but that first allegation was a little more severe. I do think it's important to be able to parse out the severity of these allegations, though. There are people out there there are people out there who full on raped people, and that's horrible and not something that we should ever stand for in society. And I think that it actually demeans the victims of those horrific crimes to say that what Al Franken did is on the same level. I think that there's certainly a level for what Al Franken did.
No, it's over exaggeration. Remember when the Republicans used to be the family values?
I don't think they were ever really the family values party. I think that they've always marketed themselves as family values. Well, you forget that Reagan was instrumental in the rise of mass incarceration. The war on drugs was accelerated under him. HIV/AIDS was a huge deal under Reagan, and Reagan didn't do nearly enough to stop it. In fact, you could almost say that Reagan took some actions to spread that in the early days. by not doing anything about it and allowing it to go from person to person. So there were a lot of, Reagan sort of had this. People had this vision of Reagan as this family values president because he's this kindly old man. He's an actor. He knows how to act on camera. But a lot of his policies were very, very damaging. I don't think that most families would value the things that Reagan did during his tenure.
Well, that's amazing. You have certainly opened my eyes.
That's the whole point, right? We're trying to open everyone's mind, trying to open each other's minds here.
I remember them used to always talk about family values.
Yeah, well, that's always been the Republican Party's line. They always say that they're the party of family values, and then when they get into power, they cut taxes on the rich. Then all of a sudden it changes, and it's yeah. Once they're in power, that's when they drive the car off the ditch. Amazingly, politicians lie sometimes. It does happen, especially Republicans. Democrats too, but especially Republicans.
Oh, I can't. Who do I believe? What do I do?
We can't trust our politicians anymore.
Who can you trust?
And that's the biggest aftermath of Watergate was really a distrust in our government. And it makes you wonder whether Watergate was actually a good thing in hindsight, because really maybe we should have been asking more questions about our government for years. And now that we do question our government more heavily, there's a lot more oversight, and we do sort of watch what's going on a little bit more closely.
Yeah, so it served the purpose. Okay. Rocky, this has been most influential, most informative. Do you have anything else you'd like to say at this moment?
James, thank you for having me on. I had a great time, and I was happy to talk about some of these issues.
Anytime. On Now We Rise, Quest of Self-Determination, Rocky Lotito, and me, your host, James Litkett, the revolutionary activist producer, wizard of social justice. Do I have any other names? No, that's it for now. Thank you, world. Until the next time. Next coming is Gwen Carr sits down with Robert Carnegie, City Council. Be here for that one. It's going to be a great show. Great show. Great show. Okay, on that note, until the next time, power to the people.